For years, I brushed off what I now know were lymphoma symptoms. I told myself it was menopause or stress or just getting older. But here's the tricky part. Lymphoma symptoms don't look the same for everyone. They change depending on the type of lymphoma you have and even how much disease burden your body is carrying. Some people barely notice anything. Others, like me, feel aggressive symptoms that come on suddenly, even though my cancer is technically called indolent or slow growing. Hi, I'm Joey. I share my cancer journey with patients, caregivers, and survivors to help others going through this feel a little less alone. Today, I want to break down the full range of lymphoma symptoms across different types, indolent, aggressive, and Hodgkin's, and show you how my story fits into the picture. Just so it's clear, indolent and aggressive are both forms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Hodgkin's lymphoma is a separate category with its own symptoms. Together, they make up the two main families of lymphoma, Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. My cancer is follicular lymphoma, which is supposed to be slow growing, but it didn't feel slow to me. I went from thinking I was just aging to suddenly having swollen lymph nodes all over my body almost overnight. The first time I went to the ER, even before the lymph nodes showed up everywhere, they ran blood work. It looked fine, so I was sent home without a CT scan. At that point, no one knew it was stage 3 lymphoma. It wasn't until later when I finally had scans and a biopsy that I got the real answer. And looking back, I can see I had almost every symptom: fatigue, itchy skin, night sweats, unexplained weight loss. My type is called indolent, but it was acting aggressively, and that's why I was in chemo within 2 days of being diagnosed. So let's talk about what these lymphoma symptoms can actually look like, because they change a lot depending on the type. If you have an indolent, low-burden, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, like early follicular or marginal zone, you might not feel anything at all. Some people only find out because a scan for something else picks it up. And if symptoms do show up, they're usually so mild, you might brush them off. A little fatigue, some itching, or a small lymph node you barely notice. But when indolent lymphoma becomes high burden or advanced, which is what happened to me, that's when symptoms really start picking up. Fatigue that doesn't go away, itchy skin that drives you crazy, night sweats that drench your sheets, unexplained weight loss, and lymph nodes that suddenly feel like they've popped up everywhere overnight. Now, here's something important. About 30% of indolent lymphomas will eventually transform into an aggressive type over time. That's not what happened to me. My follicular lymphoma didn't transform, but even as an indolent lymphoma, it acted aggressively and caused those sudden, overwhelming symptoms. Now, with aggressive non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, like diffuse large B-cell or DLBCL, the symptoms usually hit hard and fast: painful, rapidly growing lymph nodes, fevers, drenching sweats, severe itching, sudden weight loss, extreme fatigue. Most people with aggressive lymphoma can't ignore it, which is why they tend to get diagnosed faster. And then there's Hodgkin's lymphoma. These symptoms can look almost the same as aggressive non-Hodgkin's: swollen nodes, night sweats, fever, weight loss, itching. But there are two things that stand out. One is age, and the other one is age. Hodgkin's is more common in younger people, often in their teens or 20s. And the other is unusual but real. In some cases, drinking alcohol can actually make the lymph nodes hurt. Out of all lymphomas, about 85 to 90% are non-Hodgkin's. Within that group, around 40% are indolent or slow-growing types like follicular lymphoma. About 60% are aggressive, with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma being the most common, making up about 30 to 40% of cases. The other 10 to 15% of lymphomas are Hodgkin's, which often shows up in younger people. These numbers explain why experiences are so different. One person might live quietly with indolent lymphoma for years. Another, like me, might suddenly feel overwhelmed by symptoms. And around 30% of indolent lymphomas eventually transform into aggressive forms, which is why it's so important to stay on top of follow-ups and not ignore changes in symptoms. When I look back, I realized my body was giving me warning signs. The fatigue, the itching, the night sweats, they were all there. But I didn't expect my indolent lymphoma to act aggressively. That's why I share this, so you know you're not alone if symptoms don't fit neatly into a category. Lymphoma symptoms don't follow one simple pattern. Some people live with them quietly, others are thrown into it all at once. Neither journey is easy, and both deserve care and attention. Question: did your lymphoma symptoms come on slowly or all at once? Share it in the comments. Your story could really help someone else. And if you want to understand what happens after the symptoms, the scans, the biopsy, the whole diagnosis process, check out this video next and subscribe for more real cancer stories and tips. Thank you.